How's it going, Clayton? Shane was saying that last week the game plan was just kind of put your DBs on an island and trust them to make the plays, which they did. Is it as simple as saying you can do that game plan against Clemson, or do you know that Clemson will come at you in a different way?
Well, really, Clemson's different style of offense, different style, so you can't really come with the same plan every week. Every week's a new week, and Clemson has presents his own problems in numerous ways.
And you had said before last week that the goal was kind of to let Tennessee make catches but not get those big explosive after the catch. Just kind of what went into executing that as well as you guys did on Saturday?
Yep. You have to start with belief, and just one of those things where everyone believes in the plan and understands just the bigger picture of things. That this is how you can hang in the game with Tennessee. You can't let those guys get big explosive plays, and our guys and our coaches believed in it, and obviously our offense was able to give us plenty of cushion and opportunities to go out there and really just have a nice night against that kind of offense.
When you look at just the performance and consider how explosive they are, like, is it extra satisfying that y'all had a defensive performance like you did and came up with a result?
Yes.
That side?
I've always, to me, it's all about the win at the end. That's the ultimate goal in the game of football. And the way we played and the way it went out, that's what it took, and definitely proud of how they performed. There's always ways to get better. There's always things that we could have done better, plays that we could have made here and there to actually make it a bigger margin of victory for the club. But we're very proud of how they execute the plan, and we came out victorious.
Clayton, how'd you celebrate the field storming? What was that?
I found my family first, so I made sure my kids were not out in the midst, and they weren't. So our security team did a good job of keeping our family back. So I was looking for my family, and I just sat there and watched it.
Yeah, and I guess I think Tennessee only had 3 runs of at least 10 yards, and that's a pretty good running team. How do you feel like the run defense played, and is that maybe a building off point going into what is a really dangerous Clemson run defense?
Yep. We always try to build off of things good and bad, learn from the bad and grow from the good things from the previous week. They had the quarterback scramble, and then they had the 31-yard touchdown run. Besides that, our guys did a great job, and that was part of helping with the passes. We cannot let them they can't come here and rush for 250, and that was a huge part of the plan. Obviously, this week presents a different style of offense, so you got to stop both. Clemson does a really good job on the ground and in the air, so we just got to continue understanding the plan, and I hope our guys can go out there and perfect it.
Clayton, I know Cam doesn't get targeted a ton just by virtue of what he can do in coverage, but what did you kind of think of his effort against a guy like Jalen Hyatt the other night and how he played?
I thought it was outstanding effort, just what we asked him to do. And I think he's a smart football player, and obviously, he came to play and he was locked in, and also the guys around him. It's an ultimate team sport. So, he wouldn't get the recognition from that game if our offense didn't play the way they played. It would have been a completely different thing. But it was an ultimate team sport, but he definitely did his job. His one job was to follow them, or I think it's 11. I can't remember, so long ago.
Nick Ebenworry goes out with targeting, and then Peyton Williams comes in immediately. You force a field goal. What kind of was happening on the sideline at that moment? And is there anything you kind of said to Peyton Williams before he went out there for that big action, kind of his first major action?
We was proud of Peyton. I mean, that's what we pride ourselves here in this program of next man up and no flinching, no panicking, and you never know when your number's going to get called. It's a great example. Coach Beamer will be able to use that for as long as Peyton is here. And that's what we remember him as, the guy who came in for Nick after Nick was out. But it was big time by Peyton just to be ready. It says a lot who he is, and it says a lot about Coach Gray.
I think after the game, Cam had a pretty good line when he was with us talking about dropping things or whatever. Was that something that y'all talked about as a group, or was that just something he came up with off the cuff right there?
The locker room is like Vegas, you know what I mean? What's said in the locker room stays in the locker room. It's supposed to be, but, I mean, our message was, let's go out here and play some football, man. Let's continue doing what we've been doing. You guys are doing great. Just get it going.
Stylistically, what have you seen from Clemson offensively, and what kind of challenges outside of obviously Shipley in that run game do they present?
3-headed monster in the backfield. You can count the quarterback, that's 4. big receivers, offensive line that's been around for far as not have a couple of young guys, but they've always traditionally had a really good offensive line. Just a good program that's been very consistent the past decade. So, I mean, you know what you're getting from Clemson. They're not going to change what they do. Spread you out, QB run game, running backs. They have 3 really, really good backs, tight ends that move around, and you got to be dialed in.
Nick was pretty emotional, it appeared, after he was ejected in the first half, and it seemed like he needed some people to come over to him and calm him down. How do you feel about a player who kind of carries that kind of fire and emotion with him? And then as a defensive coach, how do you instruct players who are called for targeted and ejected? What do you say to them to kind of get their heads right for the next time?
First thing, obviously, you have to love when a player has that kind of passion and that kind of love for not being able to play the game. And we know that they've definitely cracked down on that rule the past couple of years, and it was a bang-bang situation. And, you love those guys that show that passion when they on your team. So I love to have him in our corner. In regards of just the shoulder tackle versus the head tackle, so obviously in individuals on Tuesday, we all talked about emphasizing the shoulder tackle, just keep talking about it over and over again because this is such a bang-bang thing. You want guys to still be instinctive, but at the same time protect themselves and protect their opponents.
Seemed like Tonka probably could have had quite a few sacks if he wasn't getting tackled. Was that as dominant a performance as he's had individually, or is there something that comes to mind as far as how well he's played in previous games?
It's crazy because I didn't realize it on the field. I was watching the linebackers in the back end for the most part, make sure we was on those routes. And then I kept hearing people yelling, holding, holding, holding. I'm like, what's going on? So I watched the tape on Sunday. It was very dominant. My mindset was who was going to be the players of the game when I went home on Sunday. When I watched the tape, I changed my mind because I felt like he was a guy who was wreaking havoc in the backfield and should have had two or three more holding calls. But I love the way he played and just the energy that he brought up front. That was huge for us. All 3 corners, and they still got it. And then Tonka was the 4th. So, but everybody, I thought the linebackers played great. It was a good day against that style of offense. Appreciate it. Thank you, guys. See y'all.